Since the history of the universe and all the four orders of creation within it, there have been two cosmic wars according to Jewish sources. Both wars were fought in the abode of the kingdom of light. The question arises, why did this war occur, or what caused the two wars? To answer this, we must look back to eternity past, the starting point of it all, relying on extra-biblical works like the Apocrypha, Pseudepigrapha, and the 66 canonical books. There are many Apocrypha out there that I know are legitimate and will help us understand many things in the canon. So in this video, I will be using a few apocryphal books like the Book of Enoch, the Lost Book of Moses, the Book of Melchizedek, and the Apocalypse of Abraham. Most of what I will be saying in this video will be from the Book of Melchizedek. Now, if you don't believe in the extra biblical books I will be using in this video, you can kindly keep walking. I am convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that these extra biblical sources are legitimate. Now, let's explore the events that led to the two cosmic wars and the destruction of the pre-Adamic earth. I will be paraphrasing from the Book of Melchizedek, and in many cases, it will be word for word. Before stars shone and angels sang, there was already a heavenly realm known as paradise, which we now refer to as the second heaven, the home of the eternal, the one and only God. At that moment, there was no third heaven, and what we know as the first heaven was dark and empty. The Eternal lived for eternity in paradise, basking in its beauty before embarking on the creation of the universe. He envisioned countless beings, from the tiniest atoms to the immense galaxies, all made with love and care. God's divine orchestra of creation aimed to resonate with harmonious chords of justice and peace, with each creature receiving a unique love song. Filled with happiness, the Eternal commenced his work of creation. He first shaped a world of light, on which a glowing mountain arose, forever affirming the throne of the universe. This mountain extended from paradise, the second heaven, all the way up. The zenith of this great mountain is what we now call the third heaven, where the throne of God is situated, and where Enoch, Abraham, Moses, Paul, John, and many others have been caught up. The Eternal called this sacred mountain Zion, and from its base, a crystalline river flowed, symbolizing the life that would emanate from him to all living beings. He created a paradise around Mount Zion, known as Eden, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. To the south of Eden, along the river of life, stood numerous mansions adorned with precious stones, destined for the envisioned angels who would serve as ministers of the kingdom of light. Encompassing Eden and the angelic mansions, God built a city with walls of bright jasper, adorned with large pearl portals. This magnificent city was his dream capital, Jerusalem, the city of peace, the first city. The time had come for the first rational creature to be brought into existence, a glorious angel of great honor, adorned with the shine of precious stones. This angel would reside on Mount Zion, representing the King of Kings before the forthcoming universe. With much love, the Creator began to mold the firstborn of angels. All wisdom was applied when forming him, making him perfect. He tenderly granted him life. The beautiful angel, as if waking from a deep sleep, opened his eyes and looked at the face of his author. With joy, the Eternal showed him the beauties of paradise, telling him of his plans, which were beginning to materialize. When he was led to the place of his abode, next to the throne towards the zenith of Mount Zion, the Prince of Angels was grateful and, in a melodious voice, sang his first song of praise. From the heights of Zion, it was discovered, in the eyes of the beautiful angel, Jerusalem in its immensity and splendor. The river of life, sliding serenely in the middle of the city, resembled a long avenue, reflecting the beauties of the Garden of Eden and the angelic mansions. Wrapping the firstborn of angels with his mantle of light, the Eternal began to speak to him of the principles that would govern the universal kingdom. Physical and moral laws should be respected to the full extent of divine government. Moral laws were summed up in two basic principles: to love God above all things and others as oneself. Each rational creature should be a channel through which the Eternal could shed light and life to others. That way, the universe would grow in harmony, happiness, and peace. In the kingdom of God, laws would not be imposed with tyranny. The subjects would be free. Obedience should arise spontaneously, in a gesture of recognition and gratitude. In that realm of freedom, disobedience would also be possible. The result of such behavior would be the depletion of vital forces. After revealing to the beautiful angel the laws of his government, the Eternal entrusted him with a mission of great responsibility. He would be the protector of those laws, and should honor and reveal them to the universe ready to be created. With a heart overflowing with love for God and others, it would be up to him to be a model of perfection. That beautiful angel would be Lucifer, the bearer of light. The prince of the angels, grateful for everything, prostrated himself before the loving king, promising him eternal faithfulness. The Eternal continued his work of creation, bringing into existence innumerable hosts of angels, the ministers of the kingdom of light. They all emerged from the stones of fire. Many of the angels came into being from existing angels that God had already created. They literally walked out of each other with singing and praises. Some of the angels thought they were self-existent until they realized they were not. After a while, God decided to create the material universe that would revolve around Mount Zion. To do this, he was accompanied by his ministers of light. He set out for the great accomplishment into the empty and dark space which would later be called the first heaven. After contemplating the immense emptiness, the Eternal raised his mighty hands, ordering the materialization of the multiform wonders that were to compose the cosmos. His order, like thunder, reverberated everywhere, in which the Elohim, in this case, the seven spirits of God, went into action, bringing into reality the Eternal Father's order. We know from the canon that the Elohim has 7 spirits, and they were involved in creation. For example, wisdom created the planets or the earth, and understanding established the heavens. Proverbs 3:19 states that. Psalms 104:24 shows that God created the cosmos by wisdom. These 7 spirits are integral parts of the Elohim. They illuminated the empty dark space and brought about all the stars and galaxies in the cosmos via the cornerstone, a crushed stone that was crushed into dust particles. The Elohim created the cosmos via dust particles according to the Book of Job. Mind you, the ET did not create the cosmos as many believers believe, nor was it created by the Paradise Core, the Melchizedeks, or the Life Carriers. It was the Godhead and his 7 spirits that brought about countless galaxies. The galaxies that were brought forth by the Elohim were full of worlds and suns, paradises of life and joy filled with creatures, all spinning harmoniously around Mount Zion. Every galaxy is spinning around Mount Zion. Although we can't see Mount Zion with our naked eyes, it is right above the earth. How? Right above the earth or the North Pole is the second heaven, Paradise, and amid Paradise is a great mountain called Mount Zion that rises from Paradise past the North Star and all the stars and galaxies in the universe. When the angelic host witnessed such a great fact, the whole material creation of the Supreme King, the angelic hosts prostrated themselves, causing a song of triumph to pass through the illuminated space in salutation to life. The whole universe with its inhabitants joined in that song of gratitude, promising eternal fidelity to the Creator. Guided by the Eternal, the angels began to explore the riches of the universe. The Eternal went on an excursion with his angels of light. On that sidereal excursion, they were amazed at the immensity of the kingdom of light. Everywhere they found worlds inhabited by happy creatures who received them with a party. A planet called Earth was also part of this world. There was a first Earth that orbited the circuit our Earth orbits. Our planet is not the first Earth in this orbit. After God had concretized his dream, one more thing remained. He had to test their faithfulness. How did he do this? To test their faithfulness, the eternal host led the angels through the illuminated space until they approached a dark abyss that stood in stark contrast to the bright galaxies. From a distance, the abyss seemed insignificant, like a small spot without light. But as they got closer, its enormity became apparent. The Creator, who had been revealing the mysteries of his kingdom at every step, remained silent, as if keeping a special secret for himself before the abyss of darkness. This abyss of darkness represented a test of faithfulness, a test to see if his creatures would choose to love him or not. Now, what is this darkness, and what is it doing in the abyss? We should note that the darkness mentioned in this verse is the same darkness that was on the face of the abyss in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. We should also note that the abyss, or the deep mentioned in Genesis 1, verse 2, is different from the waters the Spirit of God hovered. Furthermore, the abyss is a dimension, a spiritual dimension, that holds many secrets. This abyss of darkness has a tabernacle, or a dwelling place according to the book of Job 38:19, which states,
"What is the way to the abode of light? And where does darkness reside? Can you take them to their places? Do you know the paths to their dwellings?"
The abode of darkness likely resides within the abyss, which constitutes one of the four orders of God's creation. These four orders encompass distinct realms: the higher planetary system, comprising the heavens of heavens and paradise; the middle planetary system, including our Milky Way galaxy; the lower planetary system, housing hell and other planets with lower vibrations; and finally, the abyss, which accommodates both divine and malevolent creatures of God. Additionally, it encompasses the creations of the fallen angels. The book of Revelation 5:13 acknowledges the diversity and scope of creation across these four orders. It mentions every creature which is in heaven, on earth, under the earth, and in the sea or the abyss. The abyss is a dimension. So the Creator led the angelic host to the abyss of darkness to inform and show them the existence of another force in opposition to the light: darkness. The word darkness has several meanings. It can mean literal darkness. It can also mean a secret or hidden place, and it also means evil or sin, ignorance, obscurity, and terror. The abyss of darkness holds the secrets of darkness, the secrets of evil, and many other treasures of God. It seems that darkness occupies a place within the vastness of the abyss. Now, was the darkness in the abyss created by God, or did it coexist with God from eternity past? That I am not sure about, although we have a verse in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 7, which states that God creates darkness and he creates evil. When encountering Isaiah 45, verse 7, many believers often interpret it as suggesting that God created darkness. However, my perspective on this matter differs. The Hebrew word bara, translated as create, and the Hebrew word yatsar, translated as form, encompasses numerous meanings. In Hebrew, a single word can have over 40 interpretations, and it falls upon translators to select the most appropriate one according to context. Bara can signify choosing, selecting, cutting down, making fat, appointing, and ordaining. While contemporary scholars tend to understand bara as create, is this interpretation entirely accurate? Likewise, the Hebrew word translated as form is yatsar, which implies fashioning or forming. Figuratively, it conveys ordaining, determining, purposing, planning, and appointing. In my view, Isaiah 45 verse 7 indicates the ordination of light and darkness for a specific purpose rather than their outright creation. I do not subscribe to the belief that darkness or evil was brought into existence by God. Rather, they coexist with God from eternity. It seems implausible that God would create evil. The Eternal One and the host reached the abyss. The darkness of that abyss consisted in the test of faithfulness. Turning to the hosts, the Eternal solemnly affirmed,
"All the treasures of the light will be open to your knowledge, except the secrets hidden by darkness. You are free to serve me or not. Loving the light, you will be bound to the source of life."
With these words, God made a clear separation between light and darkness, between good and evil. The universe was given the freedom to determine its destiny. God set before the host of heavens, which includes Lucifer, life and death, light and darkness. Not only did the Eternal set these two choices before the host of heaven, but he also presented these two choices before the universe, before the inhabitants of various star systems in the material universe. It would be up to them to show the Creator if they truly loved him. These two choices were meant to demonstrate their faithfulness or fidelity to the Creator. The long-awaited dream of the Creator was realized. Now, as a loving Father, he led the creatures through an eternity of harmony and peace. By virtue of the fulfillment of divine laws, the universe expanded in happiness and glory. There was a strong bond of love that united all. Rational beings, endowed with the capacity of infinite unfolding, found indescribable pleasure in learning the inexhaustible treasures of divine wisdom, transmitting them to the like. They were like channels through which the source of eternal life nurtured all of love and light. In Jerusalem, the ministers of the kingdom met before the sovereign king, always ready to fulfill his purposes. It was through Lucifer that the Eternal revealed his designs. After Lucifer receives a new revelation, he promptly transmits it to the angelic hosts. These, in turn, shared it with creation. How? In famous flight, the angels head towards the capital planets, where in large assemblies, the representatives of the other worlds meet. Question: what is the capital planet? Who are the representatives of other worlds? What are these worlds? What is the large assemblies? The capital planets probably refers to Jerusalem, the city of peace, the first city in the universe. The representatives of other worlds probably refer to the first man of that world, also known as the Atom. Every first man created on a world is called Adam, according to the Lost Book of Moses. Yeah, our planet is not the first to be inhabited or become a world, nor is it the first in its current orbital path. Many planets have come and gone, each having a first man called Adam. The worlds could be referring to glorified worlds that were once in the material dimension. I explained it in this video. The large assemblies probably refer to the Mount of the Congregation, or the Mount of Assembly stated in Isaiah 14, verse 13, where Lucifer said, "I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly." The Mount of Assembly is a meeting point for all the members of the Divine Council and probably representative of other worlds. In many of these assemblies, Lucifer was present, filling the participants with joy and admiration. Perfect in all virtues, he captivated them with his sympathy. No other angel could reveal like him the mysteries of the Eternal's love. The universe, feeding on the source of life, expanded into an eternity of perfect peace. Obedience to divine laws was the foundation of all progress and happiness. Although aware of free will, the desire to depart from the Creator had never risen to the heart of any creature. This was the case for a long time, until such a problem broke into the life of the One, who was the most intimate of the Eternal. Lucifer, who had dedicated his life to the knowledge of the mysteries of light, was gradually attracted to darkness. The King of the universe, in the eyes of whom nothing can be covered up, sadly accompanied his steps on the downward path that leads to death. At first, a small curiosity led Lucifer to approach that deep abyss. Contemplating it, he began to investigate the reason for not being able to understand its enigma. Returning to his esteemed position beside the throne of the Eternal, he humbled himself before the Divine King, entreating, "Father, Grant me knowledge of the mysteries veiled in darkness, just as you illuminate me with your light." Upon the beseeching of the radiant angel, the Eternal, with a voice heavy with sorrow, replied, "My son, you were fashioned for the brilliance of the light which is synonymous with life." Convinced that the Creator would not disclose the enigmatic secrets of darkness, Lucifer resolved to decipher the puzzle on his own. He deemed himself capable of such a task. In making this solemn decision, the archangel allowed a seed of sin to take root in his heart, a seed with the potential to wreak havoc upon the universe. Only God knew what was going on in Lucifer's heart. The angel, who had been created to be the bearer of light, was divorcing in thoughts of the kind Creator, who, in an effort to prevent disaster, begged to remain by his side. A tremendous struggle began to lock inside Lucifer. The desire to know the meaning of darkness was immense, yet the pleas of that loving Father, whom he did not want to lose, tortured him. Seeing the suffering that his attitude caused to the Creator, he sometimes showed repentance, but fell again. Before creating the universe, God had already foreseen the possibility of a rebellion. The risk of granting freedom to the creatures was immense, but without this gift, life would be meaningless. The Eternal did not want to reign over robots, programmed to do only his will. He wanted obedience to be the result of recognition and love, so he decided to take the big risk. Although Lucifer continued to search for the meaning of darkness, Lucifer did not intend to abandon the light. Lucifer finally understood the enigma of darkness. He struggled to reach a combination between light and darkness that, in the eternal kingdom, coexisted separately. Finally, with a feeling of exaltation, he conceived a deceptive theory, which he intended to present to the universe as a new system of government, superior to the Eternal's government. He called his theory the science of good and evil. Structured in logic, the science of good and evil proved attractive to Lucifer's eyes, seeming to reveal a sense of life superior to that offered by the Creator, whose kingdom enabled only experimental knowledge of good. In the new system, there would be a balance between good and evil, between love and selfishness, light and darkness. Throughout the time when the science of good and evil matured in his mind, Lucifer would know how to keep it a secret in front of the universe. He continued in his position of honor, fulfilling the function of bearer of light. However, as much as he tried to pretend, his countenance no longer revealed joy in serving the Eternal. The divine king, who suffered in silence, sought, through his revelations of love, to prepare the rational creatures for the great approach that was approaching. He understood that many would yield to temptation, forsaking him. Yet, the night of trial would distinguish the truly faithful, those who served the Creator out of love, not self-interest. Aware that the hour of testing drew near, and that Lucifer stood ready to betray him before the universe, the Eternal, who had ceaselessly unveiled the riches of his wisdom, fell into contemplative silence. Silence revived the memory of that first sidereal excursion in the heart of the hosts, when, after showing them the riches of the kingdom of light, God became silent before that abyss. They remembered his words.
All the treasures of the light will be open to your knowledge, except the secrets hidden by darkness. You are free to serve me or not. Loving the light, you will be bound to the source of life.
Lucifer, who, he had begun to covet the throne of God, inquired about the motive of his silence. The Creator, contemplating it with infinite sadness, said, "The hour of darkness has come. You are free to carry out your purposes." Seeing that the propitious moment for the propagation of his theory had arrived, Lucifer summoned the angels for a special meeting. The hosts, eager to know the meaning of the Father's silence, took their places next to the magnificent angel, who had always revealed to them the treasures of the kingdom of light. Lucifer began his speech by exalting, as usual, the government of the Eternal. In a broad retrospective, he reminded them of the great revelations that had enriched them throughout that eternity. Lucifer lied to the angelic host by stating that The divine silence presented him as being the indication that the universe had reached the fullness of knowledge that came from the light. Silently, the Eternal paved the way for the understanding of mysteries not yet dreamed, kept until then beyond the limits of his government. Surprised, the hosts learned of Lucifer's experience of darkness. With eloquence, he told them about the science of good and evil, indicating it as the path of greatest realizations. The effect of his words was soon felt throughout the universe. The question was decisive and explosive, generating discord for the first time. Rational beings, in their test, would have to choose to remain only with the knowledge of the light, which Lucifer claimed to have reached his limit, or venture into the knowledge of the science of good and evil. In the beginning, the angels debated at the question, and then afterward, the entire universe was put to the test. It seemed that the science of good and evil was to take away most of the creatures. However, little by little, many who at first got soaked with the theory woke up from the illusion of it, reaffirming their fidelity to the kingdom of the light. At the end of that conflict, which dragged on for a long time, a third of the stars in the sky were revealed next to Lucifer, and the rest, although shocked by the test, next to the Eternal. The science of good and evil was proclaimed by Lucifer as a new system of government. But how to exercise it if the Eternal continued to reign in Zion? The rebel host needed to find a way to get the Creator out of his throne. The council, formed by the rebel angels, began to deal with that. They decided, finally, to request the throne for a certain time, in which they could demonstrate the excellence of the new system of government. In case it was approved by the universe, the new system would be established forever. Otherwise, the domain would return to the Creator. Thus, Lucifer, accompanied by his hosts, approached arrogantly before that suffering father, making such a request. The Eternal was not ambitious. He only wanted good for his creatures. If the science of good and evil consisted of a greater good, God would not oppose its implantation, yielding the throne to its defenders. God knew that the path the rebel host had chosen would lead to unhappiness and death. Moved by his protective love, the Creator disregarded the request of the rebel hosts, who turned away enraged. Upon being denied the throne, Lucifer and his followers launched accusations against the divine king, alleging tyranny in his governance. They argued that his continued reign on the throne was the epitome of his capriciousness. Hadn't he initially granted them freedom of choice? Why then curtail it now, hindering their efforts to establish a superior system of governance? The accusations of the rebellious hosts echoed throughout the universe, casting doubt on the fairness of the Eternal's rule. This caused profound anguish among those who remained loyal to the kingdom of light. Not knowing how to refute such accusations, these creatures, silenced by moral pain, longed for the moment when new revelations from the Creator could clarify the mysteries of that great conflict. The accusations and blasphemies of the rebel hosts reached the climax when the Eternal, in a surprising gesture, rose from his throne as soon as he left it. The infidels, in the expectation of a conquest, quieted down, while a feeling of fear penetrated the heart of the subjects of the light. Would he surrender the dominion of all creation to get rid of vile accusations? According to the logic from which Lucifer based his teachings, there was no other alternative to the Creator. In this tremendous expectation, the universe accompanied the steps of God. In a gesture of humility, the Creator stripped himself of his crown and his royal robe, placing them on the white throne. In his countenance, there was no expression of resentment or anger, but of infinite love and sadness. With solemnity, the Eternal proclaimed that the decisive moment had arrived when each creature should seal its decision by the light or darkness. In a wide revelation, he warned of the consequences of a break with the source of life. Breaking with the source of life would result in the loss of vital forces. The source of life is light, and God is light. The rebel host, as we will later see, lost the vital forces which resulted in them relying on human blood to give them what they lost, which is the mantle of light or glory. Our blood is luminescent. Our blood is congealed glory or congealed light. With a look of tenderness, the Creator looked at his children. It was a look of humility, which, full of love, begged to remain by his side. Countless creatures moved, corresponded to his look of kindness, while a crowd remained downcast. Lucifer and his followers were aware of the seriousness of that moment. It was still possible for them to turn back their plans, surrendering repentance to the Divine Father who had always loved them. While crestfallen considering the final decision, Lucifer and his followers heard the song of those who, in recognition and gratitude, stood beside the Eternal. The last fight was at the heart of the infidels who, shuddering, came to think about retiring, but they did not. Why? Because the memory of the recent divine gesture, stripping the crown, gave them the certainty that the government would be handed over to them. Seeing that the throne remained empty, Lucifer and his hosts, dominated by greed, finally broke with the Creator. Now, what does it mean that they broke with the Creator? It could be referring to war in heaven, which in turn affected some worlds in each planetary system in the universe, which includes our planet Earth, the footstool of God. Seeing a third of the subjects go through the divisions of eternal separation, God let out the distressing pain that for so long martyred his heart, curving in inconsolable crying. God's distressing pain or anger could also refer to what Job says in this verse. Contemplating his rebellious children, he raised his voice in a painful lamentation. My children, I can no longer call you that. I would like to have you in my arms so much. I remember when I formed you with love. You came forth happy and perfect in chords of hope and eternal harmony. I lived for you, covering you with glory and power. You were my joy. Why did your hearts change so much? Oh, what else could I have done to make you stay with me? Today, my soul bleeds in pain from the eternal separation. How will I look to the empty places where so many times the voices raised in festive hosannas, without a mixture of happiness and pain coming to mind? Infinite nostalgia already invades my being, and I know it will be eternal. Today my heart broke and broke. I will carry the scars forever. After proclaiming in sorrow so painful lamentation, the Eternal One addressed Lucifer, the cause of all evil, saying, You received a name of honor when you were created. Now they will not call you more Lucifer, but Satan, the enemy of Creator and his laws. After lamenting the downfall of the rebel hosts, the Eternal, in slow steps, was absent from the Garden of Eden, place of the universal throne. Where would his dwelling be now? The faithful hosts accompanied reverent his mysterious steps of abandonment, which seemed to reveal a difficult future of suffering and humiliation. Would the rebels occupy the divine throne, desecrating it as the domain of sin? This inquiry tortured the hearts of the subjects of the Eternal. Leaving his beloved city, the Lord of Light led himself, in the midst of the glories of the universe, in the direction of the immense abyss, which he had silenced until then. There he stopped once more, muted, while he seemed to read in the darkness a future of great struggles. Faced with the suffering of the Eternal, expressed in the sadness of his countenance, the faithful could finally understand the meaning of that mysterious abyss. It consisted of a symbolic representation of the kingdom of rebellion. In the saddened face of God, there was, finally, a glow that encouraged the faithful. Raising the powerful arms in the dark, he ordered loudly, "Let there be light." Immediately, the light of his presence flooded the deep abyss, and triumphing over darkness, revealed an unfinished world covered by crystalline waters. With that gesture, the Eternal began a great battle for the claim of his government of light, battle of love against selfishness, of justice against injustice, of humility against pride, of freedom against slavery, of life against death. Battle that without truce would extend until, at the desired dawn, the divine king could return victorious to the holy Mount Zion, where, enthroned in the midst of the praises of the redeemed, he would reign forever in perfect peace. The darkness, in its escape, pointed towards the final annihilation of the rebellion. The abundant waters that covered that world, hitherto hidden, symbolized the eternal life that for the faithful would be conquered by the love that everything sacrifices. The revealed world was the earth, our earth. Visited by darkness and light, she would be the stage of the great struggle. The faithful rejoiced at the triumph of the light on that first day, when darkness in their fury rolled over the planet, succumbing it in dense darkness. What does it mean that darkness in their fury rolled over the earth? This could probably mean the war in heaven extended to our planet. The light, which seemed defeated, was reborn victorious in a beautiful dawn. Upon scratching the light of a second day, the Eternal ordered, "There is an expansion in the midst of the waters, and there is separation between water and waters." Immediately, the heat of his light caused an immense amount of steam to rise from the waters, enveloping the planet in a blanket of indigo transparency. Thus the atmosphere arose, with its perfect mixture of gases that would be essential for the life that would soon crown the planet. The Creator, contemplating the expansion, called it heavens. The atmosphere, which filled the earth with brightness, darkened as the twilight of another sunset ensued. When darkness was overcome on the third day, the Creator continued his work, bringing forth the immense continents that were still beneath the surface of the waters. With raised hands, he ordered, "Join the waters under the heavens in one place, and the dry portion appears." In prompt obedience, the crystalline waters gave their superior position to the dry portion that rose, overlapping them. In the lower regions of the earth, the waters would continue to reflect the heavenly glow, being a snack for thirsty creatures. In that gesture of humility, the waters foreshadowed the Creator, who in the great struggle had descended into the deepest abyss to make eternal life reborn in thirsty souls. Contemplating the face of that new world, the Eternal called the dry part earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. In his powerful voice he continued, ordering, "Produce the earth-green grass, grass that gives seed, fruitful tree that bears fruit according to its species, whose seed is in it on the earth." In obedience to the divine command, the solid surface of the planet was covered with all kinds of vegetation. Beautiful meadows to bloom, green fields crisscrossed by crystalline rivers, endless forests where leafy trees allowed to hang tasty fruits of countless species. The earth was like a cloth, where the Creator, by the power of his word, colored pictures of unparalleled beauty.
While with admiration the hosts contemplated the beauties of that creation, they were surprised to recognize on the new planet the Garden of Eden, place of the divine throne. The Eternal, by the power of his word, had transferred him to the bosom of that special world, where in justice, the government of the universe would be confirmed. On that spring day, the breeze gently caressed the green forests and the flowering meadows, flooding the atmosphere with a soft aroma and freshness. Contemplating his work, the Creator happily exclaimed, "Behold, everything is very good." Exuberant, the planet fulfilled another day in its harmonious rotation. The faithful hosts could now better understand the importance of divine light. His absence had obfuscated, on that night, the beauties of Zion. On that new day, the Creator would express his great power, giving the earth luminaries that would fill it with light and heat. Those luminaries would remain forever as symbols of the spiritual presence of the Eternal, which is the source of all light. Contemplating the dark and empty space that extended around the earth, with a powerful voice he ordered, "Let there be luminaries in the expansion of the heavens, so that there is separation between day and night. Be they by signs and for certain times, to days and years, and be for luminaries in the expansion of the heavens to light the earth." Immediately, the space became radiant due to the brightness of the sun and the reflection of planets and satellites. Wrapped up by that enchanting scenario, the children of light, rejoicing, greeted the dawn of the fifth day, which would be of many surprises. The Eternal would turn the festive land by the presence of a countless species of irrational animals that would inhabit the entire surface of the planet. That creation would have continuity on the sixth day. Raising the mighty hands, the Creator, looking first at the crystal-clear waters, ordered, "Produce the abundantly reptilian waters of the living soul." Immediately, the waters became undulating by the presence of a countless species of reptiles that, happy and grateful, celebrated the existence in a continuous swim and jump. Putting his eyes on the indigo atmosphere that rested on the green forests, the Eternal continued, "Birds fly over the face of the expansion of the heavens." Through his order, the heavens were filled with colorful birds that, flying in all directions, had in their hearts a song of gratitude for life. Contemplating with pleasure his earthly creatures, the Eternal blessed them by saying, "Fructify and multiply, and hence should the waters in the seas and the birds multiply on the earth." Rejoicing, the faithful hosts witnessed the dawn of the sixth day. On the sixth day, he created the living soul as animals of different species. The land became extremely beautiful, which Princess adorned to receive its king and lord. Who would that special being be? Moving with majesty, the Eternal came down to the glories of the new world, heading to the Garden of Eden, place of the divine throne. The angels of the light accompanied him reverently, stopping like clouds over the skies of paradise. The entire universe watched with deep interest the development of the acts of the Creator in response to the accusations of his enemies. The moment was decisive. Everything indicated that the Eternal would prove not to be tyrant or selfish, crowning someone on Mount Zion. Satan and his followers did not doubt that the kingdom would be given to them, and they would reign victorious in the bosom of that ancient abyss, where darkness and light were now intertwined. The subjects of the light shuddered at that perspective. Near the source of the river of life, the Eternal knelt and lovingly crafted a special creature from the elements of the earth. After molding the lifeless body of the first man, the Creator breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man came alive. Awakening as if from a dream, the man opened his eyes to behold the Creator's smiling face. Overwhelmed with emotion, he heard the Creator affectionately call him, "My son, my dear son." Named Adam, he was lifted by the hand of the Eternal, embracing his Creator in reverent worship. The faithful hosts joined in joyful song, celebrating the momentous occasion of Adam's creation. Adam, filled with happiness, explored the wonders of his new home alongside the angels. He marveled at Mount Zion, the river of life, and the abundant beauty of Eden, admiring the lush vegetation, sparkling stones, and gentle animals. With intense joy, Adam was aware of the infinite species of animals that populated the garden. All were meek and submissive and lived in perfect harmony and happiness. Stopping in his footsteps, Adam admired the whiteness and tenderness of an animal that was jumping on the grass. Approaching, he took it in his arms, dedicating a special affection. Adam's heart swelled with wonder as he spotted a lively animal frolicking in the grass. Approaching it, he gently scooped the creature into his arms, feeling a rush of affection. Oh, the softness of its white wool under his touch. Adam's eyes sparkled with love and humility as he held the little animal close. There was something about it that touched his soul. With a tender smile, Adam dubbed it Lamb. With the lamb nestled in his arms, Adam's gaze turned skyward in gratitude towards the Eternal. He couldn't help but notice the striking resemblance between the lamb's pure whiteness and the Creator's own radiant presence. His expressive eyes of an unparalleled love, Adam discovered that he had in his arms a symbol of his author. Overwhelmed with joy, Adam exclaimed, "O Lord, this little lamb adorned in such white wool, with eyes brimming with love, resembles you. I wish to keep it always by my side." Watching the animals, Adam perceived that they enjoyed a special fellowship. I saw happy couples everywhere living for each other. His thoughts turned to his companion. He looked around and was surprised not to see him. The Eternal had concealed himself on purpose, becoming invisible. Adam felt lonely in the midst of that paradise. With whom would he share his happiness and love? There were animals there, but they were irrational, unable to share their ideals. He was born in his heart, walking alone in that sunset, a burning desire to find someone who could always be by his side. While Adam looked toward the distant hills in the hope of seeing someone, the Eternal appeared at his side and said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a companion." Adam's spirits lifted at the Creator's promise just when he needed it most. Drifting into a peaceful sleep in the embrace of the loving Creator, Adam's dreams were painted with vibrant scenes of Mount Zion, the river of life, and the beauty of Eden. Waking with a sense of longing, Adam searched for his partner, only to find himself alone in his dream. As dawn broke, Adam's hopeful gaze swept across the verdant hills, longing for companionship. Then, to his delight, he beheld a vision of a woman, her gentle touch reminiscent of the breeze in his dream. Completing him in a way he never thought possible, Eve became his perfect counterpart, flesh of his flesh and bone of his bone. With Eve by his side, Adam eagerly led her on a journey through the wonders of their home. Together, they marveled at the beauty of nature, the songs of birds, and the tranquility of Eden. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of pink, Adam and Eve shared a moment of pure bliss. Sensitized, Eva stopped at every step, attracted by the flowers that exhaled soft perfumes, for the birds that sang happy songs, for the animals that followed them submissive, by the vegetation of rich nuances, through the crystalline waters of the river of life that flowed cascade from Mount Zion. Everything in paradise was perfect and beautiful, but nothing equaled the human being, created in the image of God. They turned to each other in admiration and caresses. Soaked by that love, they remained until sunset. With delight, the young couple began to contemplate the setting sun that, through pink rays, colored the sky in a beautiful tree. To cut the long narration short, in a final challenge, darkness became dense in the hours before dawn. The night lashed out his forces to fight for usurped rule. Now, what does it mean that the night lashed out his forces to fight for usurped rule? I believe this refers to the second attempt of the dominion of darkness to take the throne of God. This was the second war which took place on a seventh day within the seventh epoch, but they failed once again. Finally, a flash appeared in the east that seemed to speak of hope in a new day. The sky gradually became colorful of a reddish alive. The helpless darkness withdrew from the rising force of light and was consumed in its escape. Nature began to wake up from the long night, reflecting in its bosom the nostalgic rays. Flowers would open, exhaling perfumes of joy. Animals and birds, silenced at night, joined the voices in a triumphant chant in salutation at the dawn of that great day. The black night had come to an end, giving rise to the daylight dreamed. It was a special meeting for God, because it foreshadowed his final victory over the dominion of rebellion. The Eternal, with his angel, visited the man and his wife in the Garden of Eden, paradise. God was about to do something great that will prove to the subject of light that his government is not tyrannical. On that festive morning, the Eternal was to reveal the greatness of his character, which is justice and love. The accusations that his government was selfish and tyranny would be refuted. In the eyes of all the rational creatures of the vast universe, God led the young couple to Mount Zion.
On that momentous morning, the Eternal prepared to showcase the greatness of his character, which epitomized justice and love. The accusations hurled at his governance as selfish and tyrannical would now be unequivocally refuted. With all the rational creatures of the vast universe as witnesses, God guided the young couple to Mount Zion, the sacred ground of the divine throne. Amidst the hushed awe of the assembled hosts, a breathtaking scene unfolded. In a remarkable gesture, the Creator adorned the man with a royal robe, placing upon his head the coveted crown that Lucifer had once coveted. Man, which includes both Adam and Eve, who were of the dust of the earth, became the Lord of all creation. Every creation in all four orders, like in the higher planetary system, the middle planetary system, the lower planetary system, and the universal sea, was now under the rulership of Adam and Eve, including Lucifer and his cohorts. Lucifer, who was made from the stone of fire, now has to bow to the man whom God made of the dust of the ground. Overwhelmed with profound gratitude for this supreme honor, Adam and Eve humbly bowed, offering their precious crown at the feet of their Creator in a gesture of submission. A victorious cry resounded, shaking the very foundations of creation. Those who had endured countless insults and humiliations in the face of relentless accusations from rebel hosts now erupted in jubilant praise for the blessed God, whose display of humility, detachment, and love dispelled the darkness of falsehood. Having appointed man as the steward of all creation, the Eternal solemnly impressed upon him the magnitude of his mission. Charged with safeguarding paradise and preserving the source of the river of life, man was entrusted with upholding the laws of justice and love that formed the bedrock of the kingdom of light. As the rational steward, it was now man's prerogative, in a gesture of recognition and gratitude, to freely accept the governance of the one who had created him. The witnessing hosts comprehended that henceforth the Lord of Light would govern the universe only with human consent. With man now ordained as the arbiter of creation, the seal of eternal dominion glimmered upon his glorious being, fashioned in the image of the Creator. Following the revelation of the infinite honor and responsibility bestowed upon them, the Creator made Adam and Eve aware of the spiritual conflict raging for universal dominion. He told them about Lucifer and his cohorts. Lucifer, once a loyal servant in Zion, had succumbed to pride and selfishness, leading a third of the rational hosts in a bid to overthrow the Eternal and tarnish his reputation with baseless accusations. In a solemn gesture, the Eternal revealed two towering trees laden with fruit on the banks of the river that flowed from his throne. The tree on the right symbolized the tree of life, emblematic of the kingdom of light, while the tree on the opposite shore represented the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, a symbol of rebellion. By partaking of the fruit of the tree of life, man would affirm his submission to the Creator, the source of life and light. Conversely, consuming the fruit of the other tree would grant dominion to the enemy, leading to eternal death and the chaos of rebellion. As Adam beheld the weighty symbolism embodied in the two trees, he prostrated himself before the Creator, declaring, "You are worthy, Lord, to reign over the universe, for by your wisdom, love, and power, all things were created and are sustained." On this emblematic Sabbath, resounding with triumph, all the children of light united in a harmonious chorus of exaltation to the one whose greatness knows no equal. With a sinking feeling, Satan and his followers beheld the magnificent scene unfolding before them, the coronation of man by the Eternal himself. Bitterness gnawed at their hearts as they watched the faithful rejoicing in the Creator's display of humility and love, a stark contradiction to the accusations they had hurled against his governance. Anger and frustration surged within them as they grappled with the humiliating realization that their rebellion stood on the brink of collapse, like fleeting shadows vanishing before the dawn. In their despair, they contemplated their options, yearning to shroud the Sabbath in darkness and extinguish any glimmer of hope from the hearts of the Eternal's subjects. Amidst their deliberations, a ray of opportunity emerged, a solitary tree standing amidst the Garden of Eden, a symbol of rebellion, the tree of the science of good and evil, towering next to the river of life. A single human gesture, they realized, could grant them dominion over the coveted domain for eternity. But the question lingered: how would they entice the man? Driven by the allure of conquest, Satan devised a cunning plan, knowing that failure would spell the demise of all his aspirations.
A shadow lurked in the depths of Lucifer's heart. He knew that if he could lead Adam and Eve astray, all hopes of triumph would crumble, his dreams of adventure shattered. Deception, he concluded, would be his powerful weapon against the unsuspecting couple. Reflecting on his past triumphs, Lucifer remembered how he had deceived a third of the heavenly hosts, drawing them into his rebellion. With patience born of cunning, he awaited the opportune moment to set his ambush. Meanwhile, Adam and Eve reveled in the delights of Eden, their days filled with joyful activities and visits from celestial beings. In the serene beauty of Eden, Adam and Eve reveled in the blissful peace of their perfect paradise. Amidst the gentle melodies of chirping birds and the harmonious union of nature, they basked in the loving presence of their Creator. Each day brought new wonders to discover, and in their innocent joy, they shared their findings with God, eager to learn from His wisdom. When they woke up to the joys of each day, the caresses and sweet song of the Eternal came to mind, which made them fall asleep every night. The life of Adam and Eve in Eden was not idle. Garden care was recommended to them. Its occupation was not annoying. On the contrary, it was pleasant and invigorating. The Creator had indicated work as a source of benefits for man, to occupy the mind and strengthen the body, developing all the faculties. It was common for the young couple to receive visits from celestial beings from the higher planetary system. Through these visitors, they learned more about the Lucifer rebellion and its eternal consequences. In His omniscience, God knew the enemy's terrible intention. Summoning his main hosts, He revealed to them with regret the imminent danger that loomed over the universe. Satan was to ambush in order to take man to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Before that revelation, the children of the light were fearful, for they knew the tremendous ease of Satan in linking innocent creatures and binding them in their meshes of death. In the solemn council, they decided to send, urgently, messengers to warn the man of great danger. 2 powerful angels were dispatched to warn the couple of the impending danger. Urgently, they traveled through the heavens, crossing galaxies to reach the blue planet where Adam and Eve dwelled. In Eden, the couple welcomed the heavenly messengers with joyful salutations, but their countenances betrayed anxiety. The angels delivered their warning, urging Adam and Eve to remain vigilant against temptation. The angels warned the couple not to separate from each other. They spoke of the eternal reward awaiting those who remained faithful to the Creator. Adam and Eve were afraid to know Satan's plans, but they were comforted to learn that he could not do them any harm, forcing them to eat the forbidden fruit. If, however, he tried to intimidate them with his power, all the Eternal's hosts would come to his aid. The messengers of the light concluded their mission by recommending the couple to remain vigilant, always keeping in mind the responsibility that rested upon them. They should not be separated from each other, not even for a moment, because separated, they could be seduced. Grateful for the angel's guidance, Adam and Eve joined their voices in a song of promise, pledging eternal loyalty to their Creator. Satan watched from the shadows, his envy and hatred growing as the couple sang songs of praise while the angels returned to their abode. Lucifer promised to silence the couple's voice. After the departure of the angels, Adam and Eve fell into a reverent silence, pondering the weighty responsibility of their mission. They contemplated the impending trial that would shape their destiny and that of all creation. Yet buoyed by the prospect of victory, they joined their voices once more in a song, affirming their belief in the ultimate triumph. This melody banished all fear of failure from their minds, and they frolicked happily through the verdant meadows, accompanied by creatures whose fiery presence seemed to celebrate their imminent victory. Feeling secure in their paradise, they remained oblivious to the lurking danger of potential assault. Meanwhile, Satan, observing them closely, sensed his moment drawing near. Stealthily, he approached the paradise, biding his time to spring his trap. Unaware of his presence, the couple continued their carefree revelry, playing with the animals. In Satan's twisted visage, a malevolent grin formed as he witnessed their heedlessness, noting their neglect of the messenger's final warning as they turned away from each other in their exuberance. Satan saw Eve working alone in the garden. Seizing his moment, he wore the skin of the Leviathan and approached Eve with cunning words. The cunning adversary wasted no time in seizing hold of a snake, the most beautiful creature in paradise, and skillfully maneuvered it towards Eve. Eve, seated on the grass amidst playful animals, noticed the approach of the alluring serpent, its iridescent body reflecting the colors of the rainbow. Eve was mesmerized as she watched the snake gather flowers and fruits from the garden, laying them delicately at her feet. Grateful, she accepted the affectionate embrace of the serpent. Having won over Eve's affection, Satan in his deceitfulness began to entice her towards the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Unaware of the danger, Eve followed the serpent to the forbidden tree. There, embracing the hidden enemy, she listened to his sweet words of love and wisdom, his voice akin to that of an angel. Eve was astonished by the snake's extensive knowledge and mastery over various subjects. Enthralled by the experience, she became completely absorbed, forgetting her companion Adam and disregarding the warnings of the heavenly messengers. Meanwhile, Adam, oblivious to the advice he had received, appeared with some animals, completely forgotten by Eve. As time passed, the memory of the angelic warnings resurfaced in Eve's mind. The echoes of the angel's last words reverberated in Adam's mind. "Do not depart from each other. Do not separate for a moment. It is dangerous." His heart pounded when he didn't see Eve at his side, as Adam desperately searched for her, calling out her name in anguish. However, his cries were met with silence, intensifying his distress as he searched fruitlessly for her. He remembered the tree of science of good and evil. There was the only place where his partner could be deceived. Hoping to obstruct the enemy's only opportunity, he advanced in the direction of the test site. His pulse quickened as he gazed upon the forbidden tree in the distance. Holding the serpent in her arms, Eva inquired about many things, marveling at the vast knowledge the snake seemed to possess. Filled with curiosity, she asked, "Where do you derive your great knowledge? Tell me, for I desire it too." Without hesitation, Satan pointed towards the tree of knowledge of good and evil, declaring, "There lies the source of all my wisdom." Then he spun a deceitful tale, claiming to be like any other serpent, simply feasting on the fruits of paradise. He recounted a day when he tasted the forbidden fruit and gained all its virtues by some enchantment. Eve, taken aback, questioned whether the Creator would withhold something so beneficial from his creatures in his love for them. Seeing her confusion, Satan retorted, "Did God truly say you shall not eat from any tree in the garden?" Restless, Eve responded, "We may eat from the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God commanded us not to eat from the fruit of that particular tree, lest we die." Disdainfully, the serpent countered, "That's false. If it were true, I would have perished." The seductive words of the serpent planted seeds of doubt in Eva's mind. Caught between the memory of the Creator's command and the tangible evidence before her, she began to question the character of the Eternal. In a brazen display, the serpent plucked fruits from the forbidden tree and savored them, challenging Eva's trust in God's decree. Placing a fruit in the woman's hands, he urged her to eat, questioning, "Didn't the Eternal warn that touching this fruit would bring death?" A heavy silence blanketed the universe as every inhabited world witnessed the distressing scene unfold. The children of light, helpless witnesses to the unfolding tragedy, felt their future hanging in the balance. In Jerusalem, turmoil reigned as powerful angels pleaded with the Creator for permission to expose the deceitful enemy lurking within the serpent. Yet, the Eternal stayed their hand, affirming that force was not the solution. Instead, he emphasized the sanctity of man's free will, allowing him to make choices even amidst temptation. The children of light agonized as they witnessed the woman's doubt, knowing that she questioned the benevolent Creator who had granted them life. Adam, filled with hope of securing victory, rushed towards his beloved, who sat near the tree of knowledge. Seeing Eve in that perilous place stirred a sense of dread within him, reminding him of the warnings he had received. Yet, he pushed aside his fears, determined to reach her before any harm befell her. Meanwhile, Eve hesitated as she held the forbidden fruit in her hands. Though the future appeared daunting for a moment, she pushed aside her doubts, envisioning the glory that awaited them through consuming the fruit. With some reluctance, she lifted the fruit to her lips. The inhabitants of the celestial realm watched in terror as Eve seemed resolute in her decision. Despite their pale faces and desperate inquiries for hope, they witnessed Eve's fateful choice to defy the Creator. Pale with fear, the faithful sought any glimmer of hope, only to witness Eve's dreadful decision to sever ties with the Creator forever, succumbing to the captivity of death. The Eternal, silently observing this scene of rebellion, bowed his head, tears streaming down his face. The pain of separation was unbearable. Though panicked, the faithful knew all was not lost. If Adam resisted temptation and remained faithful to the Eternal, victory could still be achieved. Eve, deceived, might come to realize her mistake and receive divine forgiveness. However, by the time Adam reached the testing ground in anguish, it was too late. Eve, sitting by the river, casually indulged in the forbidden fruit. Adam trembled, wondering if it was the same fruit of the test. Hope flickered as he gazed at the tree of knowledge of good and evil, only to be dashed by the grim reality. He looked at his wife, speechless, unable to rouse her from the bitter truth. In despair, he cried out, "Eve, Eve, what have you done?" Consumed by emotions upon eating the forbidden fruit, Eve imagined herself ascending to a higher plane of existence. Still under the sway of illusion, she smiled at her husband's voice, only to be shocked by his tears. With bitter regret, Adam sought to understand why he had rebelled against the Eternal. Eve, quick to deflect blame, recounted the cunning tale of the wise serpent. Adam, haunted by memories of the serpent's words, was deeply distressed. The prospect of witnessing his beloved's death in his arms was unbearable. Yet, seeing Eve seemingly unaffected, Adam found relief in her happiness, unaware of the enemy's deception. Enthralled by her words, Eve recounted her experience with the forbidden knowledge. She spoke of the wisdom it offered and the happiness of their new kingdom, insisting that Adam join her. Overwhelmed by conflicting emotions, Adam sat in deep contemplation. Fear and love warred within Adam as he grappled with the decision before him. Unable to bear the thought of life without his beloved, he faced immense turmoil. His indecision weighed heavily on all faithful to the Eternal. Knowing that obeying Satan's proposal would lead to eternal loss of happiness, Adam realized the fate of the entire universe hung in the balance of his decision. After agonizing internal struggle, he looked at Eve, who had pledged eternal surrender, and made his choice. Taking the fruit from Eve's hand, Adam brought it to his mouth in a reckless act, seeking to silence the voice of his conscience. Surrendering to his wife's embrace, he unwittingly embraced the consequences of his rebellion. Satan, triumphant, departed paradise with his hosts, celebrating their victory. Meanwhile, throughout the universe, the children of light mourned their defeat, their voices now filled with lamentation instead of praise. The Eternal, though grieved by humanity's fall, had foreseen this outcome and devised a plan of redemption. Drying his tears, he resolved to intervene on behalf of his faithful, preventing them from falling into the hands of their enemies. In a mysterious intervention, he commanded his angels to encircle Eden, guarding it from Satan's grasp. Despite the seeming injustice, the Eternal revealed a marvelous mystery: his plan to redeem mankind through a substitute who would bear the weight of their sins. The revelation of this plan brought solace to the faithful, who now understood the hope of redemption through sacrifice. The hosts of light fell silent, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the Creator's sacrifice. Though the thought of his suffering pained them, they recognized it as the only hope for victory over sin and death. Adam and Eve, now aware of the consequences of their actions, felt a profound emptiness and remorse. The once vibrant paradise now seemed cloaked in darkness, echoing their despair. As night fell, they trembled under the weight of their guilt, unable to face the dawn. Fleeing from the presence of their Creator, they sought refuge in the shadows, consumed by fear and shame. Moved by infinite love, the Eternal pursued his fallen children, yearning to embrace them once more. Despite their rejection, he continued to call out to them, eager to offer forgiveness and redemption. Moved by boundless love, the Eternal began to trace the path of the fleeing couple. Each step stirred memories of the joyful moments shared in paradise. How things had changed. Once seen as a loving father, now perceived as an angered figure seeking retribution. Yearning to embrace his children, God's voice pierced the darkness with a poignant question. Adam, where are you? Yet, only hollow echoes of ingratitude and rebellion reverberated back. Desiring to enfold them in his loving embrace and reaffirm his unchanging love, the Eternal was struck by the pain of his children's flight. Before his tearful gaze, he glimpsed the future of humanity, foreseeing how many, deceived by Satan, would shun his presence, misconstruing him as a tyrant bent on punishment. Nevertheless, the Creator persisted in seeking them amidst the shadows of death's domain until repentance prevailed. Adam and Eve, warned from their frantic escape, concealed themselves amidst the foliage beneath a fig tree. Sensing their nakedness, they fashioned aprons from fig leaves, hoping to alleviate their shame before their Creator. Drawing near to their hiding place, God tenderly inquired, Adam, where are you? Unable to evade God any longer, Adam and Eve emerged, humbled by guilt. Taking them by the hand, the Creator lifted them up, his countenance tinged with sorrow. Why did you flee from me? Did you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil? Adam, trembling, blamed Eve while Eve pointed to the serpent's deception. Neither took responsibility, instead deflecting blame onto others and even onto the Creator himself. With a heavy heart, God foresaw this pattern recurring throughout history. Humanity's reluctance to acknowledge fault and tendency to shift blame. With gentle words, he sought their confession. Looking at the fragile garments woven by sinful hands, the Eternal said to the couple, Children, those garments are insufficient. Immediately drying up, they will fall apart. You need lasting garments that can cover your nakedness, freeing you from condemnation. If you would like, I can give you that garment. In the face of the Creator's kind words, which brought hope, the couple prostrated themselves repentantly, detaching themselves from their illusory garments, symbols of their failure. They now longed for the garments of salvation promised by the Divine Father. Having witnessed their repentance, the Eternal lovingly lifted Adam and Eve by the hands, eager to unveil the plan of redemption to fallen humanity. With tender care, God began to reveal to them the harsh consequences of their disobedience. Children, he began, you have sealed the fate of all creation in the clutches of death. Disharmony now pervades nature, threatening to extinguish all its virtues. The abyss into which you have plunged through disobedience is deep indeed, beyond the reach of my powerful arm. Detached from the source of life, there is no escape from death for any human being. With heavy hearts, Adam and Eve followed the Creator, tears staining their faces, as he led them to the site of their shameful fall. As they journeyed, memories of their former glory tarnished by ingratitude weighed heavily upon them. The prospect of being reduced, along with creation, to cold ashes beneath the darkness of sin's night, pierced their souls. Amidst tears, they beheld the beauty of God's light, contrasting sharply with the numbness of their surroundings. Their steps faltered as they came upon a lamb, a poignant reminder of innocence. Trembling, they awaited the fulfillment of the just sentence, prepared to face the consequences of their actions. Yet, instead of the expected blow, they felt the gentle touch of divine hands lifting them into a new life. The condemnation, however, would fall upon a substitute,